Bad judges and our babies being deported. These are the big questions that we're going to tackle first on the James Show. And maybe we could combine all these. Maybe we could deport some babies and then swat them, I guess, would be the... I'm kidding. I'm not advocating for that. But let me first... I'll play you some local news reports on the... this is the fourth time the Metcalf family has been swatted. The third time, this is Jeff Metcalf, the dad, he specifically has been swatted. Yeah, the mom and dad don't have the same household, is what I'm assuming here. So I'll just go to all the reports that we heard from Dallas Morning News and then the TV shows. That's weird. Swatting. I mean, where you try to use the police force to intimidate, if not harm, your perceived political opponents here. Not a whole big mention. Well, there is some other news in the Metcalf drama that's going on. The judge was doxxed. Well, judge wasn't doxxed. The judge was almost doxxed, whatever that means. So I guess that makes the news. WFAA.
The Collin County Sheriff's Department and the FBI are investigating after a judge overseeing a North Texas murder case became the victim of doxing. Now, doxing is when someone's private information, like their address or phone number, is posted online without their permission. The sheriff's office confirms it happened to Collin County Judge Angela Tucker. She is presiding over the Carmelo Anthony case. He is accused of murdering a fellow Frisco ISD athlete at a track meet. On April 14th, Tucker lowered Anthony's bond. He was then released. That same night, Collin County investigators say Tucker's information was posted online. It is a crime to dox a judge, and they say whoever did it will be prosecuted. Anthony is 17 years old. He is charged with murder in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf.
So there you go. That's the dangerous part that the judge was exposed to. Meanwhile, the other side is getting swatted for the fourth time. No headlines. No big deal. The only way we know about it is he posted it on Facebook, and then a bunch of people had to reply to it and ask a bunch of questions. And then one of these enterprising sort of freelance journalists reaches out to the Frisco Police Department or whoever the local police department is. I think it was Frisco in this case, to confirm it. And so we have that, but we had to go get that ourselves. We had to go get that on X or Facebook or a combination of the few. So here we go. The drama is not dying down around this case. You know, that was funny. The guy last week was like, why do you pay so much attention to this case? Well, because everybody is. You know, one thing I'm going to do when I turn on this microphone and have a show with you, if there's something you're already talking about, we're going to talk about it. But there's a lot of mounting controversies around this case. Obviously, swatting is wrong, whether it happens to your political allies or your political opponents. So can we just all stop doing that? But then we have a couple of unique angles to look at this story with. Number one, wouldn't it help if this was condemned by both sides? Wouldn't it help if Dominic Alexander or someone else on Carmelo Anthony's team or one of his parents came out and said, hey, can we stop swatting the Metcalfs? Wouldn't that be nice? And if there's been a swatting going the other way, I would expect the same out of Team Metcalf. And then there's the obvious question, what do we do about this swatting stuff? It almost seems the more we talk about it, the more it happens. Like we're giving dumb people bad ideas and they're acting on them. So what do? Just shut up and stop talking about it? Will it go away? I'm not sure if that'll work either. Swatting's getting scary because people have died from swats. Now, it's been super duper rare, and it was years ago. But when I asked, after the first swatting call, actually, there were people who sent me links to a story about some guy in like Wichita in 2017. He was a gamer that got swatted by like a rival gamer that he had ticked off, and he ended up getting himself killed from some police confusion. So I like the idea of maybe treating this as an attempted murder or attempted manslaughter or something to that effect, reckless endangerment. But the problem really becomes, how do you catch these guys? If none of these guys get caught, if it's really hard to catch these guys, like we don't even know who swatted Ken Paxton's house last year, and he is the DA for the state, or Attorney General, wrong prosecutor level there, but he's Attorney General for the state, and they couldn't track down who did it. So this is wild because I'm not sure if there's anything we can do about this. And then the other third angle that's sort of unique to this is, man, look at how quickly the media jumps on the attempted doxing of the judge. And it's attempted because that's the way they say it online. Like WFAA, Collin County judge presiding over Frisco track meet stabbing case, victim to attempted doxing, police say. And that's not a new story. That was published yesterday afternoon. It got updated this morning, a couple hours before the James show. And so I don't know if there was like a second attempt, because her stuff had been put online at the beginning of this, right after the bond hearing. But the Collin County Sheriff's Office confirmed on Friday that Judge Tucker was the victim of an attempted doxing. And I'm not saying that's not newsworthy. Sure it is. But isn't the swatting newsworthy as well? 800-288-9227. This is John in McKinney. You're on WBAP. What do you think, John?
I think the Anthony team is trying to get this case moved out of Collin County. They want it down in Dallas, or I think over in Denton, so they could get a little more of a sympathetic jury to plead their case.
So you think that they're doing the swatting, or they're purposefully encouraging the swatting?
The second one. Purposefully
encouraging it?
Yes. That, or just the whole flipping the whole victimhood behavior, flipping the victimhood from the aggressor to the family who was the victim in this whole situation, and trying to make it seem like they're the bad guys, and be able to come forward and say, hey, we can't get a fair trial here, and we want to move it out of this jurisdiction.
Yeah, but how do they get to choose where it goes, or does the judge choose where it goes? Because
that I'm not sure how exactly the legal ramifications of being able to get who they go to say, hey, let's get this moved out of here. I guess that's all up to his legal team, but that's just the appearance that everything looks to me. I don't think they think they're going to get what they consider a fair trial in Collin County.
So, John in McKinney, hopefully I can remember making you this promise, but next time I have one of these lawyers on that handles such as probably Jeremy Rosenthal, I think he's coming on tomorrow, I'll be sure to try and remember to ask him about them moving the case. What are the mechanisms of that? Because that does make a lot of sense, John.
Okay, I'll be listening.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So a story hit on Friday, and everyone picked it up in the news cycle, and it got beat down on your social media all weekend. Hopefully you weren't paying a whole lot of attention to your social media. But it was an endless drumbeat all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then going into the Sunday morning shows, Meet the Press, Face the Nation. That was one of the topics, that was one of the stories that was brought up, because it's an interesting angle that they've got here. They've been trying to tell you, and I mean you like with the capital Y, the American public, that deportations are bad, and everybody thinks that they're awful and they're inhumane and they divide families and it's terrible, and a Maryland father, and they take trips down to El Salvador and they go try and meet with the president of other countries, and then they try and meet with MS-13 gang members, and they try and tell you that this is the greatest guy in the world, Donald Trump's so evil. But I think we found a case. Out in Louisiana, 3 kiddos were deported and they're American citizens. You mean Donald Trump is deporting American citizens? Oh my God, he must be literally Hitler. So I just saw the headlines, and I made the assumption without clicking through, because on the weekends, I'm dad. I'm at 2 soccer games. I do volleyball and take my kid to jazz practice and go to lunch with mother-in-law and all kinds of stuff, right? So I'm just being a normal human being, and I don't ever click. I didn't click through this weekend and read the headlines, but you know intuitively that there's something wrong with this storyline here. That narrative makes no sense. Like we have, like anybody, Trump included, Hitler included, would go kick down a door, take a 2-year-old from his mom, throw him on a plane, and send him to a foreign country. Like, no, I don't think anyone's ever done that in the history of humanity. But you're being accused of supporting this now. So let's break it down. Well, what really happened? I have 2 versions of it. The first will be Tom Homan on Face the Nation. Tom Homan is your border czar. And this is how it was framed by Face the Nation. We're just taking babies, ripping them away from their moms and sending them to random countries. Is that what we're doing?
On Friday, there were 3 American citizen children born here who were deported along with their mothers from Louisiana down to Honduras. And according to advocates, one of them is a 4-year-old child with stage 4 cancer, a rare form of metastatic cancer, who was sent back to Honduras without getting to talk to a doctor and without medication. I understand this child's mother entered this country illegally, but isn't there some basis for compassionate consideration here that should have allowed for more consultation or treatment?
Well, certainly discretion.
So you get the setup here, right? She slips in. Yeah, we had 3 minor American citizens who were deported, along with their mothers. And one of them has cancer, and it's really bad, like stage 2, 3, stage 4. Yeah, stage 4 cancer. That's the ticket. Won't you find an exception even then? So that's the setup. Tom Homan comes to blow it right out of the water. I love this guy sometimes.
Well, it's certainly discretion. I'm not aware of the specific case, but no U.S. citizen child was deported.
There you go.
Deported means you got to be deported by the immigration judge. We don't deport U.S. citizens.
The mother was deported along with the children.
The children aren't deported. The mother chose to take the children.
All right, I let the record show that she has said these children have been deported, and then when he corrected her, she insisted on using that verbiage. Let's see how long that lasts. Were these children actually deported?
With her. When you enter the country illegally, and you know you're here illegally, and you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, that's on you. That's not on this administration. If you choose to put your family in that position, that's on them. But having a U.S. citizen child after you enter this country illegally is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It doesn't make you immune from our laws. If that's the message we send to the entire world, women are going to keep putting themselves at risk to come to this country. We send a message. You can enter the country legally, which is a crime. That's okay. You can have due process, great taxpayer expense, get ordered moved. That's okay. Don't leave. But have a U.S. citizen child and you're immune from removal, that's not the way it works.
So you don't think there should be compassionate consideration for a 4-year-old child undergoing treatment for cancer?
See, there it is, compassionate. Therefore, if you're against it, you're not compassionate. There shouldn't be compassionate consideration.
I didn't say that. I said ICE officers do have discretion.
Yeah.
ICE officers do have discretion. I'm not familiar with the specific case. I don't know what facts are on this case. I just made aware of this when you mentioned this morning. I was not aware of that case.
On Friday, a federal judge who was appointed by President Trump said a 2-year-old American citizen child had been sent to Honduras with the mother who was deported. But the judge said, quote, there was no meaningful process. So again, this is another similar situation and dynamic. Shouldn't there be special care when these deportation cases involve small American-born children?
Well, first of all, I disagree with the judge. There was due process. That female had due process at great taxpayer expense and was ordered by an immigration judge after those hearings. So she had due process. Again, this is parenting 101. You can decide to take that child with you, or you can decide to leave the child here with a relative or another spouse. Having a U.S. citizen child doesn't make you immune from our laws of the country. American families get separated every day by law enforcement. Thousands of times a day when a parent gets put in jail, the child can't go with them. If you're an illegal alien, come to this country, and you decide to have a U.S. citizen child, that's on you. You put yourself in that position.
Well, when it came to this particular case, you just pointed out that they could have made arrangements. The father tried, actually, to make arrangements, as we understand it through our reporting. But he and the mother, who were separated since she was in detention after showing up for her appointment, was only allowed a very brief phone call. The father tried to petition to get the child handed over to an American citizen relative. So the mother had to make this decision and took the child with her. It just seems like there could be some more time frame here.
Did you catch that? She said the mom made the decision to take the baby, which means the Trump administration didn't take the baby and send it out the country. The mom took the baby with her, and it was her decision. It wasn't a judge's decision. It wasn't ICE decisions. It was the mom's decision. Does she not have any compassionate exemptions?
Around due process allowed. That's what the judge is saying there should have been more of a process here.
There was due process. The 2-year-old baby was left with the mother because the mother signed a document requesting her 2-year-old baby go with her. That's the parent's decision. I don't think the judge knows specifics of this case. The 2-year-old went with the mom. The mom signed a paper saying, "I want my 2-year-old to go with me." That's a parent's decision. It's not a government decision. It's a parent's decision.
Then the question has been all weekend: is this what you voted for? Is this what you voted for? to have little kids have to go back to their parents' country of origin when the parents get deported? Is this what you voted for? Because they seem to be absolutely shocked that you would be okay with this, that you would be okay with deporting illegals who have legal kids here, who have citizen children. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with deporting someone's mom when they have a citizen child? Or do you think having a baby that is an American citizen just because it was born here is the get out of jail free card from immigration laws? Crazy story about the way this is being framed. The Trump administration is deporting children. They're citizens. So a lot of people see the headlines and they won't click through to it. And, they're just used to accepting whatever the headlines say. Like, oh, my goodness, literally Hitler's doing something else that's awful. I knew it. I knew he was lying. He's not just deporting criminals and illegals. Now he's deporting U.S. citizens without due process. He's literally Hitler. And then you go find out in the story that Trump didn't deport any children. Children that are citizens can't be deported. But when their moms get deported, they actively choose to take the children with them. And they had the option. They were the ones who took the American citizen to another country. And so, look, if you have the same sort of wrath for Donald Trump removing an American citizen and sending him to another country, do you have the same amount of wrath for the mom? Oh, no, it's only bad. Okay, it's just something evil when Trump does it. Oh, I got it. And that is piggybacked on the story that made your jaw drop last week about the two judges that got arrested, one that had an illegal immigrant with ties to Tren de Aragua. That's a real fun gang out of Venezuela, living in his guest house. One of them, the other one was the judge. Where was that? Like Milwaukee or somewhere, where she hit a dude who reportedly had been caught up in some violence against another man and a woman, sending them both to the hospital. And who cares what the rap sheet is? When I showed up, she kicked him out of the courtroom, took him back in their chambers, showed him the back door, and helped him get away. She got arrested for that. And this is not going to go the way they think it's going to go. Back in James Show history, for two of my iterations, the executive producer on the James Show was a black guy named Chris. Met him in New Orleans. He worked on my show in New Orleans. Also worked on it when I was in Waco. For those of you who know me from the Waco show, do you remember Mr. Producer? Well, Mr. Producer's dad was murdered. Not during the show. Way before I met him, even. But he made the case that he became politically open-minded. The reason why he wasn't like just a brain-dead automaton for Team Blue is when his dad got killed, there was no protest for his dad. No one came out and held up a placard. There were no blacktivists that had a rally or held up a sign or made any proclamations in the news. There was no accusations of racism. No one made any big deal of it in the news at all. Yeah, it was just some guy on the West Bank got killed. Oh, well, moving on along. No one's going to remember the 1-year anniversary of it. No one's going to follow the court case and the grand jury hearing. No one's going to dox the judge. No one's going to swat the other family. It was just completely forgotten about. No big deal. And so he had a little bit pent-up jealousy there for cases like when you see a Carmelo Anthony or a Trayvon Martin or a George Floyd. Why do these people get all this attention when it looks like they did something wrong and they're not great people? And let's just stick with George Floyd because it's already been adjudicated. Not a great person, but this is the guy that gets deified when he dies. But your dad gets ignored. There's a lot of people that are listening in Dallas right now who fit this. Black, white, Hispanic, whatever. When you had your family member get murdered, anyone care? Anyone make a big fuss about it in the news? Or think about it like this. When you had a family, it was something far more common. When you had your family member go to prison, did any of these people care about your family being split up? I was just playing you. Who was that? Like Caitlin Collins over there, or who does Face the Nation now? I don't even remember. And then the other one was Alex Wagner on Meet the Press, giving Marco Rubio a hard time. Excuse me, did y'all care about any of the thousands of Americans whose families are split up when they get sent to prison on a daily basis? Did any of these politicians go visit your family member in prison? It might have been your dad. It might have been your husband. It might have been your brother. More likely like a cousin or a wayward uncle or whatnot, or a nephew or something like that. But a lot of us have had some family members go to prison, and none of you had a senator go visit them in prison, did you? None of them had 5, or was it 4? I think it was 4 congressmen go visit them. And my uncle was just in Beaumont. He wasn't even in El Salvador. No one went and visited him. No one went and visited your family member in prison. For what little mention he got in the media, if you go look it up, he wasn't called a Texas father, like Maryland father over and over. Did any judge try and hide your family member when they had committed a crime to help them evade authorities by showing them the secret back door, the private back door? No. So I think there's a lot of people out there who think they're on Team Blue who are going to get a little ticked off about this, saying, why are y'all making all the fuss over these guys? When it happened to my family, no one cared. 800-288-9227. This is Jack in Decatur. You're on WBAP. What do you think, Jack?
Hey, James. I think if the mothers were chosen to leave their children behind, the Trump administration would have been blamed for separating families.
Yeah. You know what? Marco Rubio said that too. Perfect point. You can't win. If you move to the suburbs, it's white flight. If you move back downtown, it's gentrification. You just can't win.
Exactly. Great show, my friend. Thank you for pushing it.
Solid point. I probably should have said that earlier. I had it in the Marco Rubio audio, but I'm kind of running out of time on that and didn't want to play the whole thing. But thank you for saying that, Jack, because that is a good point. A lot of immigration questions swirling around, whether it's the judges that were helping the alleged reported whatever illegal immigrants or the situation where the minor American citizens are going home with their deported parents. Susham Modi's back on to make a little bit more sense of that. Welcome back, Susham.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to be back.
Okay, so any updates on the judges? I think we had talked about this last week. I know we did on the show, but I think we talked about it with you specifically last week. Do we know the charges and a little bit more about the situation that these judges are in that are accused of harboring illegal immigrants?
Yeah, it's not harboring. The charges are going to be obstruction of justice is going to be the main criminal complaint that was against the Milwaukee judge, Dugan.
All right. Is that a serious charge? Is that like a felony or a misdemeanor? What is she facing here?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a serious charge. I don't practice criminal law. I practice immigration law, but it can be a serious charge. Now, there was, a similar incident in 2018 against another judge, I believe in Massachusetts as well. But that one, in terms of the criminal case, hadn't gone anywhere. And the reason why is it's difficult to convict somebody on an obstruction of justice charge because one of those elements is criminal intent. So it's very hard to determine criminal intent in a case like that. And so that could be one issue of several that we can discuss.
Okay, yeah. And what about the guy who had the illegal living in his guest house? What's that one called? Because I think you had made a similar case last week that you have to sort of improve intent, that he knew it was an illegal and he was harboring someone who wasn't supposed to be here.
Yeah, I think that one dealt more with tampering of evidence. I believe a phone was destroyed that was in that home.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and so that's a bit of a different matter. And it dealt with a judge, but it wasn't a judge who was active at the courthouse at that time, for example.
Okay, so let's move on to the case that came to the media attention on Friday with the kids that had been sent out of the country with their mom who was deported, and they were legal citizens. So walk us through. We know nothing about the details of this process, Susham. What happens if there is an illegal parent with a citizen minor child and the illegal parent gets ordered deported?
Yeah, I mean, first, in terms of U.S. citizens cannot be deported, right? I mean, there's the only in very limited circumstances like denaturalization proceedings, for example, if they, found to try to overthrow the U.S. government or something, very rare, extreme circumstances, and they will be able to go to federal court. So the U.S. citizen children, even as children, they cannot be lawfully deported. In this case, the Department of Justice is alleging they did not deport the U.S. citizen children, but that the mother had agreed to take the children with her. So, there is I think it's going to be clarified over time. It's not completely clear because the records haven't been released of exactly what happened. But those are the two sides of the argument there.
Yeah, so Tom Homan said on Face the Nation that there's some form you fill out that the parent has to fill out, and they make the decision on what happens with the kid, if it stays in America or jumps on the plane with them. Do you know much about that form? Does it have like a number or something?
Yeah, I mean, there is a form, but again, we just don't know what happened in this particular circumstance. You know, the department is alleging one thing, and nonprofit organizations are alleging lack of any like due process, for example, which is important. I mean, we're dealing with U.S. citizens here, and so it's important that all the right boxes are checked here. I'd like to, if you don't mind, go back. I hadn't mentioned something that is important.
Sure, we got like 2.5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. On the Judge Dugan issue, which is, one of the biggest misconceptions for immigration is that these individuals are criminals. Like, you see a lot of media and political posts of them being criminal, illegal aliens. That's not true. So most of immigration law is actually civil law. It's not criminal law. Think civil law like torts, like when you sue somebody. And so when somebody gets put in deportation proceedings, for example, that is a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. And the reason that's important is, like, for example, like they don't usually get a right to even a counsel, like a Sixth Amendment right to free counsel like you do in criminal court. And that's really, really important here, because one of the issues that arise with Judge Dugan, she was a state court judge, like doing criminal proceedings. And so whenever ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they try to arrest someone who's undocumented, is really the right term instead of illegal. People can't be legal, and neither is it criminal law. But if they tried to arrest someone there, one of the common things that they have, and I think they had here, was an administrative warrant, not a judicial warrant. So a judicial warrant is signed by like a different judge, and you can go into, at times, private spaces. An administrative warrant is only allowed in public places. And again, this is a civil matter, not a criminal matter. And so that's going to be another issue at play here, because what had happened, at least the criminal complaint states or alleges, is that ICE officers came to the state criminal court and tried to remove this individual, but his hearing hadn't been done yet, his criminal hearing. And so there's an issue of, was it trying to interfere with the criminal hearing against this individual? And then also an issue of public versus private places. So, like outside the courtroom in the hallway could be a public place, but inside the courtroom is like a semi-public and a right to have that court proceeding, the criminal state court proceeding, not be interfered with. So that's what I wanted to kind of just clarify and talk to you about as another issue that can come around, and also a clarification of what immigration court proceedings are in terms of being civil in nature and administrative warrants.
No, Susham, that was great. That's the kind of breakdown we hope to get from you. This is Susham Modi, immigration expert. Where do we find you online, Susham?
Yeah, it's just the Modi Law Firm, MODI lawfirm.com. And again, thanks for having me here, and hope this was helpful to you.
Oh, it definitely was. We really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. That was good stuff.